Okay, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the 14th ESUJ Talk Saloon. My name is Emiko Miyashita, a Vice Chair of the English-Speaking Union of Japan and this program manager. We are honored to welcome His Excellency Pawel Milewski, Ambassador of Poland to Japan, as our guest speaker. This is my occasion. This occasion is my dream come true. Thank you, Ambassador, for joining us tonight. Besides the familiar faces of ESUJ members, I can see Professor Nadia Ivanenko, the chairperson of the ESU Ukraine, Dr. Radu Shelvan, former Romanian ambassador to Japan, and lots of familiar faces. Thank you all for joining us. And without further ado, I would like to hand the mic to Mr. Sadaaki Numata, our honorary chairman, the host of this session. Dozo.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sadaaki Numata, Emeritus Chairman of the English-Speaking Union of Japan, which means I'm supposed to be in retirement. I've been called back into active duty for some reason this evening. I'm very happy to note that this ESUJ talk shop, or rather talk shop, has expanded and has international dimensions these days. Today, we are linked closely with several countries in Europe. And it is our pleasure to welcome the Polish ambassador to Japan, Ambassador Milewski. Poland has been a very good friend of Japan since the time of the Russo-Japanese War, which is somewhat symbolic. And today, there are a number of Japanese businesses operating in Poland, creating tens of thousands of jobs. And besides that, Poland finds itself in a very important position now. It is at the very forefront of this whole issue that has to do with Ukraine, both in terms of humanitarian assistance and military assistance. And Ukraine means a lot to us as well. Actually, our Prime Minister Kishida is now in Washington. He talked with President Biden yesterday, and I was looking at the joint statement which came out, and I'll quote this part from the joint communique. It says, regarding Russia's aggression against Ukraine, with the recognition that Ukraine today may be East Asia tomorrow, Prime Minister Kishida expressed his determination to continue severe sanctions against Russia and robust support for Ukraine as Japan's own issue, and share the view with President Biden to continue to closely cooperate with like-minded countries, including the G7 members. So, for all these reasons, Poland is no longer just a friend, but is a strategic partner for Japan. And I look forward to the ambassador, Milewski, enlightening us on how close a partner Poland is for us today. So here's to you. The floor is yours, Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorary Chairman Sadaaki Numata. Good evening, Vice Chairman Emiko Miyashita. And thank you very much for inviting me to this program. I'm extremely happy to address the audience of the English-Speaking Union of Japan. This way of communication reminds me the Corona times I have spent here in Japan. So I become a little bit sentimental about the time I have spent here as the Polish ambassador to Japan. I've been here already for 4 years and 5 months. and I have extremely enjoyed my posting here. Although my time into the Polish Foreign Service has been 25 years. All of those 25 years I have been working for Asia Pacific issues, either in headquarters in Warsaw in the Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs, or abroad, being posted in Beijing, in China, in Canberra, Australia, and now since 2019 in Tokyo, Japan. Again, thank you very much for your kind invitation. I will do my best to provide an interesting and inspiring presentation on Polish-Japanese relations and Polish aid to Ukraine. And I have to really express my warmest thanks to Chairman Numata, saying that Poland is extremely important right now, having the very responsible role of a frontline country, providing assistance, providing help to our Ukrainian brothers and sisters fighting for their freedom and independence. And I will, in a couple of minutes, I will get back to the subjects as the title, the subject of today's presentation also is related to Ukraine and Polish and Japanese assistance to Ukraine. But I want to emphasize in the very, very beginning of my presentation, Ukrainians and Ukrainians, they don't fight only for their freedom, for their independence, and for their sovereignty. They fight for our security, meaning our doesn't only mean the neighboring country's security. It means much, much wider, the security of a free, sovereign and rules-based international order countries, which, like Japan, here in East Asia, protect the international law from those authoritarian states which do not care about protecting it. Well, even more, trying to undermine the current order, international order, and trying to expand territorially, like Putin's Russia. May I start my presentation from a short PowerPoint slides I have sent to Emiko-san, and I would be extremely kind if you could help me to change the slides right now. My presentations will include a short introduction of Poland, the discussion about the presentation about the bilateral relations between Poland and Japan, presentation about the Polish aid to Ukraine, and Polish-Japanese cooperation for Ukraine, its potential and its prospect. Well, probably for some of you, Poland is known as a birthplace of Frédéric Chopin, placed in the very heart of Europe, with an extremely dramatic and turbulent history, which is right. That's true. My country has produced too much history, I would even say, and we have lived through extremely turbulent times, especially in the 19th and 20th century, being well attacked, occupied by our Western, Eastern neighbors, being partitioned 3 times, well, literally disappearing from the Europe's map for 123 years, and surviving. Some of experts say because of the wonderful music of Frédéric Chopin, wonderful literature, and which helped us to protect our language, the Polish language, which is the West Slavic language related a little bit to Czech and Slovak. and giving us a lot of hope for the better future. I was born in 1975, and I still remember the very gloomy, dark times of communism in Poland, and the Polish struggle to get rid of a role of the Soviet Union satellite state, which Poland and other Eastern European countries played for, well, a few decades after the end of the Second World War. Can you imagine that the last 35 years since Poland left communist times and became a free and successful state has been the best times in the last of 400 years of our history? This is unimaginable. For my generation, for the generation of my children, it's extremely fortunate for us that we are living in a free, independent country, being very well rooted in the European family of the European Union member states, and of course being protected by the strongest and the most successful in the history of human being military alliance of NATO. Poland is located, as I said, in the very heart of Europe, which has not always been a very good reason of our location. The size of the country is quite big. We are the fifth most populated member state of the European Union, with the population of almost 38 million people. The capital of Poland is Warsaw. Yes, may I thank you very much. The 91% of the land of Poland consists of lowlands. Only in the south part of Poland, bordering with Czech Republic and Slovak Republic, there are mountains, and this lowlands topography has made us being quite a battlefield for those who wanted to invade us, either from the west or from the east. May I have another slide, please? Think next. The Polish flag is very similar to the Japanese flag in terms of colors. It's white and red. It symbolizes the struggle of the Polish fight for independence and sovereignty. The Polish national emblem is the eagle with the crown, which also symbolizes the times of when Poland was a kingdom, united with Lithuania and Ukraine for some time, and in the 16th, 17th century being one of the most powerful countries in Europe. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, those two organizations undoubtedly have made Poland, Polish economy, Polish social development very, very successful in the last 2.5 decades. This year marks 25 years since Poland joined the NATO in 1999. I was the time at the university, and I remember how happy we were not to be requested to join NATO, but to request to join this alliance. Well, the reason was very easy. I mean, that was only 10 years since Poland started its transition time, and it was absolutely necessary for us not only to kick out the Soviet, then Russian military troops from the soil of Poland, but also to sort of all of the territorial disputes and sign new agreements and treaties clearing up our borders with our neighbors. 20 years ago, we joined the European Union. I was the time in Beijing, serving as a Polish diplomat, and I remember those feelings we had rising up at our embassy in Beijing the European Union flag, knowing that the membership in the European Union, which Poland has applied for a number of years, which proved very well, is one of our historic decisions, making Poland one of the most successful, one of the biggest success stories of the beginning of the 21st century. Next slide, please. Those figures are amazing in my view. I don't want to overload you with those numbers, but can you imagine that in the 20 years of our development, Poland's GDP increased more than 800%, which was the best result in Europe. Poland is the sixth largest economy in the European Union right now. The unemployment rate in Poland is constantly being below the European average. Now it's around 5%. And the very important thing, which I will come back later, talking about the Polish-Japanese relations, the first foreign investors which knew that Poland is gonna be a very successful economy were the Japanese companies, which came to Poland in the very beginning of 90s, being successful and very beneficial to our economic development. Next, please. Those are the figures about the foreign direct investments, which may give you some idea what main investors are. Well, the larger investors are German, come from Germany, Switzerland, and Japan. The number of Japanese companies operating in Poland has reached already 356, creating, as it was already mentioned by Chairman Numata, quite a number of jobs, more than 50,000 jobs, which is extremely appreciated by the Polish people. May I now say a few words about the bilateral relations? The strategic partnership was mentioned by Mr. Chairman Numata, and I think that that describes quite well how and why Poland matters for Japan and Japan matters for Poland. Well, we have a distance of more than almost 9,000 kilometers from each other, but I think that the strategic partnership, which was signed by our leaders in 2015, so 9 years ago, now may be proved by actions. Last year was extremely important for our bilateral relations. Prime Minister Kishida visited Poland twice, in March and in July. Those visits were very much linked to Ukraine and the security in Eastern Europe. And thank you very much, Mr. Chairman Numata, for recalling the mentioning Prime Minister Kishida saying that Ukraine of today may be East Asia of tomorrow. This strategic partnership between Poland and Japan matters not only in the bilateral sense of economics, assistance, economic cooperation, trade and investment relationships, political cooperation, well, sharing the same values of democratic countries and protecting the rules-based international order and cooperating with each other in the multilateral arenas like United Nations, but also meaning that now the world is at the turning point of choosing between those who are protecting the order, international order, and not allowing others to invade the neighbors and trying to undermine the international law, and those who are doing that, who are literally trying to show their military strength and trying to invade others. I'm sure you have heard about the Václav Havel, the president of Czech Republic, who has said once that Soviet Union and later Russia doesn't know when it ends and when it starts geographically. And I think, and the Russia-Japan war was mentioned, I think that all of us, Europeans, but also our Japanese friends, we know it from the history very well. We know that that President Putin has mentioned once that the biggest catastrophe of the 20th century was the collapse of the Soviet Union. Well, telling that, I mean, saying that to us Eastern Europeans makes us laugh. You know, it's absolutely unbelievable how and why we should accept the imperial activities and desires of the Russian leaderships. Absolutely not. Maybe you remember 10 years ago, 2014, when Russia annexed the Crimea. But before the annexation, it was a November, December 2013, and of course, January 2014, there was a huge manifestation on the Maidan Square in the heart of Kiev, the Ukrainian capital. Well, the Ukrainians, that was exactly 10 years since Poland and other 9 European, Central Eastern European countries joined the European Union. And Ukraine was about to sign the accession treaty with European Union and to start a negotiation. And of course, Russia didn't like it, where pro-Russian politicians in Ukraine didn't like it either. There were many manifestators in Kiev holding the European Union flag. And that was the best possible proof for us, Poles, but also others, Eastern Europeans, that being part of the European Union is more than the free flow of trade, of goods, free flow of people, of those kind of practical benefits we may get from being a member of the European Union. Being part of the European Union means that we are part of the free world. And I remember those poor people being killed by the militia and military troops in the heart of Kiev, trying to say, no, we want to be like our neighbors from Poland, from other countries. And 10 years after this tragic incidents, we have a situation when there is ongoing war since, well, more than 2 years. There is a huge tragedy of people fighting for their rights and their freedom. And I think that Putin's Russia miscalculated, thinking that it will be a very easy thing to get Ukraine as much as possible and try to destroy it and to kill as many people as possible. I would like to make now 6 points, so short points, which will give you idea from the Polish perspective on how we should interpret, we should read, we should understand the Russian intentions and the situation now in Ukraine. Well, the first is that the Russia war against Ukraine has an imperial and colonial character. It's like getting back to the 19th century, like we remember, I mean, from our history quite well. The Kremlin intends to enslave Ukrainian people to seize their resources, to deprive them from right to freely choose development path and security arrangements.
あそこでちょっとちっちゃな手荷物を忘れちゃいました。はい。
Interruption.
Okay, thank you. The second point is that Russia aggression goes bluntly against all major United Nations and principles. The right of each country to preserve sovereignty, territorial integrity, and inviolability of borders. The third, that in this sense, Russia broke the international law, undermined the global concept of peaceful coexistence of nations, and remains a long-term challenge for the global security. The next one, freezing the war, like some of the politicians think should be the case, will not bring back the stability of Europe. It would only give Russia time to recover and continue its imperial and aggressive policy. Russia won't stop until it is stopped. Russian economy has been switched into war mode. Around 30% of budget is designed to cover military expenses right now. And the last point, we are fully aware that Kiev fights for our freedom. Defending Ukraine and defeating Russia must be the top priority for every democratic country. And I think that here we may mention about the assistance. Assistance coming from Poland, from other European countries, and from other non-European countries too. May I have the next slide, please, now? And the next one, please. Just after Russia invaded Ukraine on the February 24th, there was an absolutely amazing reactions from the Polish people. I was here in Tokyo, but I know from my friends and from my family members that many people rushed from different parts of Poland to the border of Ukraine, trying to help, to be first, and to provide this assistance as quick as possible. 90% of those refugees which fled Ukraine in the first months of war were women and children. So they were absolutely, they were absolutely innocent and absolutely, powerless in terms of taking care by themselves. Polish people were driving their own cars with the big signs, how many? I can take 5 of you to my house in Krakow, in Poznań, wherever, just want to help. There was a huge help of Polish people, and of course the Polish government was doing its best to make it possible. May I have another slide, please? Thank you. There is a number of 18 million of Ukrainians, 18, who crossed the border with Poland in the last more than 2 years. 18. Some of them, they traveled further to some other European countries. Some of them stayed in Poland. Some of them returned back to some parts of Ukraine. Now we should have approximately 1 million of displaced Ukrainians living in Poland, as I said, mainly women and children. We have provided, as it is written on this slide, as much assistance as possible. We have spent 2% of our GDP on aid to Ukraine, and 80% of Poles provided some kind of assistance to Ukrainians, with 14% hosting refugees in their homes, which is an unbelievable number for the 38 million populated country. And I'm extremely proud of that. And believe me, each time I have hosted here at our embassy, the journalists or friends of Poland, my Japanese colleagues here, I was touched by the Polish people reacting so quickly and so efficiently to provide assistance to Ukraine. May I have another next slide, please? Thank you. Well, of course, we still provide a lot of assistance, especially to those people who are injured or are displaced. We provide also a telecommunication assistance to the military forces. Poland has been, since February 24th, 2022, a hub for providing the military assistance. 90% of the military assistance coming from the United States, from UK, later from France, Germany, have passed the territory of Poland, being provided to Ukrainian military forces. We have also accepted almost 300,000 of Ukrainian children and teenagers into the Polish schooling system, which has been a huge, tremendous effort to fulfill, because Polish differs from Ukrainian language. So, well, it was a case to also request some of the Ukrainian teachers to provide accommodation, transportation, food. That's been a huge task for the Polish people. May I have another next slide, please? Thank you. You can see the numbers of the assistance of Poland for the humanitarian and civil protection mechanism projects. We have been in touch with all of the European Union member states in terms of providing as much humanitarian assistance as it was possible. And in those 2 years, more than 2 years of war, more than 70% of Russian military forces attacks were aimed into the civilian infrastructure. So just imagine the kindergartens, schools, hospitals, roads, railway routes. They were all main aims for the Russian military forces to attack. I won't mention those massacres in Bucha, Irpin, because I simply cannot find the words to describe the brutality and tragism of the Ukrainian people in terms of being treated by Russian soldiers, Russian military forces so brutally. There are many lessons we have learned from this invasion related to the security issues, to the strategic and military tactics of the conducting the war. But I think that one is extremely important. Russia, Putin's Russia, has lost Ukrainians forever. I think that when Crimea was annexed 10 years ago, there were many pro-Russian people living in the eastern part of Ukraine. So we used to say that Ukraine is somehow divided into the western and eastern part of the country, where western is more pro-European Union, pro-Western, and the eastern is more pro-Russian. Well, after the invasion and brutal attacks and unprecedented destroy of eastern Ukraine, the local people have lost any hope, any trust, and any confidence into the Putin's Russia. And I think that we, the Western world, the like-minded world, we all have to provide as much assistance as is possible. May I have a next slide, please? Well, now we I would like to talk a little bit about Polish and Japanese cooperation for Ukraine. It was, as I mentioned, it was unbelievable how Japanese people reacted to this war, in terms of providing so much financial assistance to Ukrainian refugees, also in Poland and living in other European countries, accepting more than 2,500 Ukrainian refugees here in Japan, and providing help. I've been traveling quite a lot around Japan in the last 2 years, and I have met with such a wonderful actions and feelings and declarations from the local people. Like, I will give you 2 examples. I was in February this year, I was in a very little part of Hokkaido called Obihiro, very far away from here, from Tokyo. Well, the people there came to see me here at our embassy twice and have presented the report saying that they have collected the financial donations from the local farmers for the aim of providing the help to the Ukrainian refugees even living in Poland. They did it twice. I decided to go there to express my personal thanks and to also give a kind of a presentation about Polish assistance to Ukraine and the current situation. Well, last month I was in Beppu in Kyushu. Well, I've met with the mayor of Beppu, who told me, I didn't know about it. Well, he told me, Ambassador, our council decided that we have accepted 28 Ukrainian refugees coming also from Poland. Traveling from the north to the south of Japan, I have always met with this solidarity gestures from the Japanese people. And of course, the Japanese government, as it was already mentioned, has been extremely helpful and extremely active. Japan is the most engaged and the most united and the most helping Ukrainian country in the entire Asia, which gives me a great reason to be proud to serve as the representative of Poland to Japan, because that also is a reason why the relationship between Poland and Japan are now very, very close. We are trying to not only provide assistance to Ukraine now, but also think about the recovery and reconstruction of Ukraine in the future. Poland was invited to attend the Japanese-Ukrainian Reconstruction Conference here in Tokyo. I was representing Poland at this event. And our governments are discussing how Poland and Japan may provide assistance after the war ends, because we do hope that it will end sooner or later, and Ukraine will be in need to accept a lot of assistance. First of all, demining. There is a huge territory of Ukraine with full of mines put by the Russian military forces. We are in the very close contacts with Japanese government, to what extent we, Polish and Japanese military forces, may provide this demining process. Second is rebuilding the infrastructure. Before the war started in 2022, Poland already had 1.5 million of Ukrainian workers and people living in Poland who speak fluent Polish and who know the European Union standards of work, and are ready to provide this help with the Polish and Japanese companies cooperating with in rebuilding the Ukrainian economy. And well, Japan has probably one of the best experiences of recovery after the natural disasters. And there are many companies which declare their readiness to join hands together with the Polish companies to implement some reconstruction projects in Ukraine. Third, the education system, schooling. We want to rebuild the Ukrainian schools. We want to build also the schools which are located in the territory of Poland, but which will accept both Polish Ukrainian children, not providing a separated parts of the school for Polish and Ukrainian children, but making them to learn to study together, which is very important. Poland and Japan, we are ready also to provide medical services to the Ukrainian soldiers and victims of the war. We are discussing that, and there is something which I want to tell you in conclusion of my presentation, and I would be extremely happy to take up some questions if there are any. That the history of Polish and Japanese relations, which has 105 years, and Japan was one of the first countries in the world which recognized the independent Poland, regaining its independence in 1918. We have many wonderful human stories in our relations, and may I just mention a few. The first one is when Soviet Union deported thousands of Polish people far away into the Russian Far East in the beginning of 20th century, like they do now with Ukrainian people and Ukrainian children. There were many Polish orphans. They ended up with no having any parents, and they came to Vladivostok, the Russian city, and the Polish government was asking many governments to provide assistance. Japan reacted very quickly. Japanese Red Cross from 1920 to 1922 provided help and saved literally almost 800 Polish orphans. They survived the war. They came to Japan, they were rescued, and they traveled around through the United States, from Canada, back to Poland. Poland will never forget this gesture of humanitarianism and tried to give it back as much as possible. I will give you another example of Polish missionaries working here in the 20th century, also during the war times, and providing a lot of assistance to the Japanese people during very difficult times in different parts of the world. Poland has always provided help to the victims of the natural disasters, in Kobe, the earthquake in Kobe in 1995, and Tohoku in 2011. We have accepted and helped many Japanese children and families, inviting them to Poland, providing the financial assistance, organizing a charity concerts to play Chopin's music and to collect the donations, collect money to provide it to the Japanese families, because we have never forget this wonderful gesture of humanitarianism, of Japan saving the Polish children more than 100 years ago. And may I conclude saying that this wonderful assistance to Ukrainian refugees, either in Poland or here in Japan, which is given and provided by Poland and Polish people, by Japan and Japanese people, proves quite well that our friendship is not only the friendship which joins our countries and our nations, our societies, but also gives a lot of assistance to those who are in need and those who need assistance from the countries like Poland and Japan. So I really do hope that the strategic partnership on the political level between the governments will be strengthened and will be even more endured by the friendship between the Polish and Japanese people and the wonderful cooperation our nations will have in the future. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm again extremely happy to be able to talk to you tonight. And if there are any questions, Emiko Miyashita-san, please help me to collect them, and I will be more than happy to try to answer them. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Ambassador, for your very moving narrative. Before we open the floor for questions, perhaps we would like to hear some comments from Poland's close neighbors, namely from Ukraine, perhaps from Dr. Ivanenko, and also from Ambassador Sadaaki. So, Nadia, would you like to speak?
Thank you so much, Sadaaki, for giving me this chance to express my greatest and sincerest gratitude to both nations. One country who is our closest neighbor and who became like an older sister for Ukraine, and Poland, and Japan, who is which is thousands kilometers from Ukraine, but you have been given all this time such great support and help to Ukraine. So let me express the greatest and huge gratitude from all Ukrainian people and from my country to both Polish people and Japanese people. Please do know that your support, assistance, and help are invaluable for Ukrainians, and we will always remember that, because it can't be forgotten, all this help and aid, assistance in the most crucial time for Ukrainian people in this kind of catastrophe. And yes, I'm very thankful to Polish ambassador. Thank you, Pawel, for mentioning this at the very beginning, that Ukrainians are fighting not only for Ukrainian integrity, sovereignty, and our rights to be in the European family, to be a member of the European family and a member of a democratic world, which was always our aim. And we were always suppressed by this powerful neighbor and imperial country. This is very important for the world to understand, that we are fighting also for world democracy and peace and order. So that's why it is so important for us to feel this help from all over the world, and for which we are very, very much thankful. And thank you for inviting me to this great meeting. It is a great opportunity, and I feel very honored to be invited to this meeting and to listen to all your presentations and comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Perhaps we could hear from Ambassador Sherman. I think, could you unmute yourself? You're muted, Ambassador. Miyashita-san, could you unmute Ambassador Sherman?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Good evening once again, konbanwa. Let me first congratulate the Ambassador Pawel Milewski for his excellent presentation. And since we are in such an international environment, let me tell him in Polish, gratulacje panie ambasadorze, bardzo mi miło poznać pana ambasadora.
Dziękuję bardzo, panie ambasadorze. Dziękuję.
Now, because we have a strategic partnership with Japan signed 1 year ago in Tokyo, when our president traveled there, let me tell you how important this strategic partnership is for both us and for Poland, with which we have also a strategic partnership. And just as an example, today in Vilnius, in Lithuania, our three presidents of Poland, Ukraine, and Romania are meeting to discuss about Ukraine. So this is very important. Now, my question, if you allow me, to His Excellency Ambassador Milewski, since I know you served in Australia, I heard recently about Japan going closer to the trilateral AUKUS, Australia, UK, US. Can you tell us a few words about this possibility of Japan joining AUKUS? Thank you.
Yes.
May I?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
Well, I would responding to this question. I would say that Japan has created during the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe the concept of the free and open Indo-Pacific, which puts Japan on a very, very important position of the country which is responsible of the security in the entire Indo-Pacific area. AUKUS is the informal grouping of the countries which Japan is not part yet, but there is a very strong collaboration in order to respond to those security threats which are coming from some regional countries here, which Japan is having a very close neighbor with. So I think that for both sides, for Japan, it's very important to be part of this format in terms of exchange the intelligence, but also the military exercises, but also for AUKUS to have a like-minded and very strong partner, which proves very well how important is to protect the international order, and which is located in a very demanding and challenging international environment. So my view from here, from Tokyo, is that this relationship will only grow, will only strengthen, and knowing how successful, for example, Japanese presidency in the G7 last year was in terms of defining the main threats for the international relations, international order, I think that the value of Japan being a very like-minded and important partner for the Western countries, including United States, Australia, has proved that Japan will be really very important for the cooperation to protect the extremely fragile environment here in East, but also in Southeast Asia.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the answer.
Actually, I served in Canberra in the early 90s, and I'm
really
encouraged by what's happening in terms of security cooperation between Japan and Australia. Perhaps at this point, I can open the floor to other participants for questions and comments. Would anybody like to?
Yeah, can I ask you?
Yes, Iwasaki-san, dozo.
I was worried about the result of U.S. presidential election because former President Trump once mentioned he could settle down, he could end Putin's war in 24 hours by Ukraine giving up the eastern part. So I cannot say How do you react to this comment?
Yes.
Is it a question to me?
Yes, yes.
Well, Poland has experience of 500 years of relationship with Russia. The Tsarist Russia, Soviet Union, and now Russia Federation. And we have never experienced solving any problem with Russia for 24 hours. It took us decades or even more than 1 century to change the situation. And it was not because of us, but because of the entire geopolitical environment. So it's very difficult for me as a diplomat to comment on the former president of the United States statements. But I was the Director General for Asia Pacific Department when President Trump has met with Kim Jong-un from North Korea.
Oh,
And many experts, but also himself, thought that those meetings would lead to something.
Mhm.
Did they?
No.
Well, when I talk to Japanese experts on this part of the world of North Korea, they say, no, they didn't. They only proved to the Korean leader that he is appreciated by the strongest power on the planet. Full stop.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Suzuki-san, どうぞ。
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for your very passionate and moving speech.
Thank you.
Well, Putin said Ukrainian government is neo-Nazi government. Maybe I thought at the time of Nazis' invasion to Ukraine, some of the Ukrainians had to cooperate with coming invaders. Some of them are forced to cooperate with Nazis. And same thing happened in France. Vichy government is quite a semi-Nazi government in France. And I wonder what happened to Polish people when Nazis came and invaded your country. Was there any cooperative people, some of them forced to cooperate with Nazis?
Thank you. When Poland was invaded in September the 1st, 1939, we were taken by surprise by the Nazi Germany, and as a result of 6 years ongoing war, 6 million of Poles have lost their lives, and they were Nazi-founded concentration camps built on the territory of Poland, where many nations have lost their lives too, including especially Jewish people, also Polish Jewish people, but also people from Romania, from other Eastern European countries. Yes, there were cases of collaboration between some Polish people with the Nazi during their wartime, but they were the minority. Polish government has never, well, collaborated or tried to collaborate, even though we were in a huge risk of being invaded by Red Army. I mentioned September the 1st, 1939, and 17 days later, the Soviet Union invaded Poland from the east. So we were crushed by the big powers. And of course, there were cases of Poles collaborating both with the Soviets and with the Nazis, but those cases were absolutely not dominant in the Polish society. Why? Because both Nazi Germany and Soviets, they really wanted us to be either deported far away to the Russian Far East or executed in the concentration camps built by the Nazi Germany on the Polish soil.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
As a matter of fact, may I just mention that that this is not very well known fact, but the biggest number of people who are listed on the rightest among the nations list of those who have saved the Jewish people are Polish. There's a number of more than 7,000 of Polish people whose names are listed. I put on this list of the rightest among the nations. And I cannot say that they were not Poles who were collaborating with Nazis and saying, well, I know that there is a Jewish family living there or here, and pointing that out to the Nazis, to the Nazis, and they ended up either in the concentration camp or they were just killed on the spot. But the number of Poles who saved the Jews also speaks by themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, and long live Polish.
Thank you very much. Long live Japan too.
Right. Okay. Other comments, questions? Masao-san, do you have any comments or question? Miyashita-san.
Yes. Actually, mine is not a comment. It is an impression that because after hearing the very passionate talk from the ambassador, I felt Ukraine more closer to me. Just like, just open the window and there is the Ukraine. That kind of feeling that I had. And hearing Ambassador Shelban's voice, it inspires me something that I have to write in haiku about the war. And hearing Professor Nadia's voice, which is representing the whole people of Ukraine, I'm sure, was very touching. And I felt like I need to do something too.
Yes. Well, speaking personally, I was a diplomat for more than 40 years, and I have dealt with questions of security, Japan's security and security in other parts of the world. For a long time, I felt that people in Japan really didn't feel closely enough the sense of threat that's lurks all around us. But this is a period in time when people are beginning to realize that the world is not that safe after all, that the world is full of dangers. That is the reason why there are developments taking place on all fronts. For example, we've been talking about the similarity of the threat that is being faced in Europe, which may repeat itself in our part of the world, and so forth. And Prime Minister Kishida has been discussing with President Biden very concrete measures to give substance to our alliance relationship with the United States. And they are talking about measures which would have been, which you couldn't have thought about, especially when I was directly involved in that question of Japan-US security. That's more than 30 years ago. So the world is changing. Japan is changing. The question is whether we are changing fast enough. And the question that we will have to ponder. I mean, sorry for speaking personally. I wonder if there are others who wish to comment. Matsunaga-san, would you like to comment? No, can't hear. Miyashita-san,
Well, actually, the time is running out.
yeah, right, yeah.
So maybe I would like to say thank you all for joining us tonight. And thank you so much, Ambassador, for
Mhm.
2 ambassadors, actually 3. Numata-san also has been an ambassador, and
Yes.
Matsunaka-san is also an ambassador. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And let's help Ukraine.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very much. Just one word of my warmest thanks and gratitude for having me tonight at your program. For those who are here in Tokyo or in Japan, please come and visit our embassy in Meguroku here in Tokyo. We are organizing many events, cultural events, but also
Yes.
seminars and conferences on security issues also, and on Ukraine. We are organizing many charity events for helping Ukraine, but also we are planning to organize together with the Polish community living here in Japan an event helping the victims of the Noto Peninsula earthquake, because
Yes.
we know that we have to be united anytime we feel it, and anytime we can provide this assistance. So we know that those kind of disasters are also very difficult for the local people. So we are also going to do it. And please follow us on our social media, our internet website, and of course Twitter and Facebook's. We are providing a lot of information on many issues and projects we are conducting here in Tokyo. I would be more than happy to see you here at our embassy one day if you may come. Please do.
Okay, and if I may personally, thank you very much, Dr. Ivanenko, for joining us. And if you could tell your colleagues in Oxford that you came across a group of strange Japanese who are very much interested in Ukraine.
Thank you for inviting me, and giving this chance to be with you. Yeah, I will tell. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Emika, to be always in touch with me.
Right.
By email.
Okay, so I will close the session. Thank you so much, and we will meet
Thank you.
somewhere
Bye.
again.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye bye. Arigato.